Hello everyone and welcome to another really awesome game from the 2022 FIDE Candidates Tournament. It's Richard Rapport versus Jan-Krzysztof Duda. This is round 8 and both Rapport and Duda are having pretty much the identical tournament. They both drew all of their games except the one against Jan Nepomniachtchi. Both of them lost their game to Jan Nepomniachtchi. Rapport in round 7, we've covered that game. And now they are playing against each other. So both of them really want a win for this second half of the FIDE Candidates Tournament, and that can only benefit us, the players, and maybe one of them, if one of them actually wins the game. So before we check it out, here is a nice photo before the game. You can see that they are preparing to make moves, and one of the questions that was asked that Rapport was, what color is his suit? Is it a red suit? Is it a pink suit? Or is it a salmon color suit? Now, I'm not a color expert, and I really don't know my way around colors. So if any of you know what color this could be, do mention in the comments, as it is a very interesting color. Yeah, just thought I'd mention that. And also Rapport said that his wife wanted him to wear it in the previous game, the one against Jan Nepomniachtchi, but he said that it's better that he didn't, the way he played, that it would only do the suit a great injustice, or something like that. But yeah, let's dive straight into it. Rapport has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have e5 by Duda, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now, knight to c6, knight to f6, going for the Petrov defense. Well, Rapport is not interested in allowing Duda some sort of a quick draw in the Petrov. He declines it and he plays knight to c3. He goes for the 3 knights game, which usually means a 4 knights game. So knight to c6, and now how do you look for chances in an opening that is so old and so analyzed that pretty much everyone knows everything about it? Well, you don't play any of the main lines. You don't play d4, bishop c4, bishop b5, but you play g3. So we're gonna fianchetto the light square bishop, and it's gonna be a slow game, but we're not allowing Duda to just get a draw with the black pieces here. So bishop to c5, bishop to g2, and now d6. We have pawn to d3, and now you could just castle automatically, but then you might run into knight to a4, and you really don't want to allow white to grab this bishop. This is a beautiful bishop occupying a beautiful diagonal. So first we're going to play a5. We make room for the bishop. A6 is much more common. A5 is in fact very rare. But okay, we have castles now, and now comes pawn to h6. There are some games where castles was played, also bishop to e6 is a known move, but Duda's h6 is a new move. So already as of move 7, we have a completely new game where Duda surprises Rapport. I guess it's not much of a surprise if he wanted. I guess he said to himself, if a Petrov arises on the board, I'm gonna go for the 4 knights, and I have to be ready for such moves. So okay, pawn to b3, now keeping an eye on this pawn, not allowing it to go any further with a4. Now, and you also could fianchetto the dark square bishop as well, but all depends on what Duda plays. So castles, we have h3, freeing up this h2 square for the king. You do not want the king on this diagonal. And now knight to d4, just improving the position, preparing pawn to c6. Later on you're going to play rook e8 to defend the e5 pawn, hopefully push d5 at some point. So Duda is having an absolute super enjoyable game. Bishop to e3, nicely developing, and c6. Now we have king to h2 and rook to e8. So Duda is just waiting to see what Rapport will do, but there really isn't all that much to do here. We have pawn to a3, and now Duda goes for some trades. Knight captures, queen captures, and bishop captures on e3. And here, if you wanted to play a principled game, or if you even asked the engine what should we play here, then queen captures on e3 is the move you play. You keep your pawn structure intact and you look for some chances elsewhere, but then black strikes in the center with d5 and so on. But long time ago, humans realized that, well, pretty much intact pawn structures seldom present winning chances, and he goes for f captures on e3. He doubles his pawn structure here, but he opens up the f file to be used for attacking purposes. And okay, Duda says not a problem. We have pawn to b5, and here the Rapport goes for g4. Now he's saying that he wants to play queen to g3 and push g5 and start an attack against Duda's king. Duda says, alright, this is, I mean, if this was good, everyone would be playing it. We have rook to a7, guarding that f7 pawn, and queen to g3 now. We have h5 and not allowing, well, just, Duda, Rapport to start attacking, so h5. And the idea is that if you capture on h5, yes, you open up the g file, but after knight captures on h5, it's not all that great. For example, queen goes here, we're going to play g6, defend our knight, the rook defends f7, everything is nicely defended, and it would be Duda who is better here. So instead we have g5, and now Duda doesn't want to allow knight h7 and h4. He doesn't want to see this on the board, so he sacrifices a pawn. Here after g5 he plays h4 first, so the queen captures and the h4 pawn will not be able to occupy the h4 square so quickly. So queen to h4, knight to h7, now going after the g5 pawn, and now queen back to g3. Rapport is now ready to play h4, and Duda will of course capture on g5. Now the question is, what will Duda capture with? And the safe option is queen captures on g5. Interestingly, this was not played in the game. Point is that after captures and h4, let's say we're gonna put the knight to e6, and you know it's a game. Black has nothing to worry about. If anything, black is better here. But after knight captures on g5, which is also perfectly fine, it is well, the queens are still on the board, and it is white who is kind of attacking here. So h4, knight to h7, and now bishop to h3, opening up the g file for the white rook. Duda captures on h3, and now you don't want to capture right away. If you capture right away, then rook e6, and after rook g1, the rook is in time to stop checkmate, and again, black is just better here. So instead, rook to g1 right away. We reached a position from the thumbnail. We're gonna recapture the bishop, but we are now threatening checkmate here, and the question is, how can Duda defend? The most precise way to defend is just g6. Obviously, the most boring one, but the most precise. And after the bishop is captured, we're going to put the knight to f6, guard the h5 square, and there is nothing white can do to break through this position. However, after rook to g1, Duda had a different plan. He played knight to g5. Now he defends the bishop, and he wants Rapport to play h captures on g5, which will close the g file. Now, true as that may be, it will close the g file, but it will open up the h file. So here, h captures on g5, bishop back to c8, and now comes rook to g2. You might also consider king g2 with ideas of just doubling up on the h file, but then queen d7, and you are not in time to double up here. Black will be able to trade queens here. So rook to g2, we have rook a to e7. Here, instead of rook a to e7, f6 is the way to go. But it's who plays f6 here? It's such an unnatural move to make. The problem is this is nothing because you just capture back and the rook and queen guard the g7. If you play g6, then king f8, we start marching our king over to the queen side. But after rook 8 to e7, this allows Rapport a very important move, and that is queen to f3. Now he has all sorts of ideas. He can bring the rook to f1. He can bring the rook to h1. He can put pressure on f7 in the future. He can shift the queen to h5, bring the rook to h1, play king g1, put pressure on the h file, and Duda is pretty much without ideas here. Again, f6 is the way to go, but here Duda plays g6, and now Rapport has all the time in the world. We have rook to h1, f5 by Duda, and now king to g1. We have pawn to b4 attacking the knight, and now e captures on f5. Rapport sacrifices the knight here, but it's not really a sacrifice. The knight cannot be captured. If you capture the knight, f captures on g6, and there's no defense here. You're just going to play queen h5 and checkmate the black king. It's unstoppable. So instead, we have g captures on f5, and now Rapport played knight to e4, and it was in this position on move 29 that Jan-Krzysztof Duda resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So really an impressive game by both of them, but Rapport decided that even though he lost his game to Nepo in the previous round, he's gonna play an attacking game. He played it very slowly, and this is how pretty much all the great players who have a must-win game, or it's a must-win situation, say that you wanna keep the game. You don't want to trade too many pieces. You want to keep your options open. You just want to play a nice game, and that basically means play a slow opening, fianchetto your bishops and so on, and opportunities will present themselves. And here you resign, because if you capture the knight again, just queen h5 and that's it. If you play rook g7 or something to try and escort the king all the way to the queen side, we don't care. g6. And if king f8, we're going to play queen h8 check, rook to g8, now rook f2 check, king to e7, and it's a mating attack. Queen h6 check, king to e6, and now queen to f7 will be checkmate. Or, any of the other lines also end in checkmate. And after knight to e4, even if you don't capture the knight, what else can you play? You can play king g7 or something, try to, bring the rooks into the game. Now we play rook g to h2. And after rook to g8, we're going to play rook to h6. So absolutely everything is winning. Here we're just going after the d6 pawn, and there's no good way. There's no good way to tackle this. It's just a completely winning position. If bishop to e6 blocking the path to the d6 pawn, we can even play knight to f6. And now just there's no move we can make here. Whatever you play is just silly. The rook is hanging, rook to h7 is coming. It's just there's no move you can even try here. So yeah, after 94, Duda is, I'm sure, very disgusted with his position, and he resigns, which means that Rapport grabs his first point in the FIDE Candidates Tournament. And now for the standings, as I know you guys are very much interested in this, here are the standings after 8 rounds of the FIDE Candidates Tournament. Jan Nepomniachtchi is leading with a full point lead, 6 points ahead of Fabiano Caruana with 5 points, then Hikaru Nakamura with 4.5, and then Rapport with 4 points after getting his first win. Then we have Ding Liren, Jan-Krzysztof Duda, Temur Rajabov, and Alireza Firuja, who are the other half of the standings, and you can see that none of them have won a single game, which is pretty tough for a candidates tournament. You have to win at least one for the ball to start rolling, but for them so far not much is happening. But you can see how impressive Nepo is with 4 wins, 4 incredible wins and 4 draws. That's incredible. If he continues winning games like this, he might even finish the candidates tournament as a 2800 player. But yeah, Fabi trailing by a full point. Today we have the clash Fabi versus Nepo, which is of course probably the one that will decide the candidates tournament. But it's still early. Anything can still happen. No one is saying that Nepo can't lose the next 2 games or that Fabi can't lose the next 2 games. So anything can still happen. And usually when anything can happen, it does happen. So yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you were, able to figure out what color a Rapport suit is. So be sure to mention that in the comments as well. I would like to thank David Kimura, and I would like to thank Stephen McNeil, Bidao is the one, Daniel Schmidt, and Ultimate Poker Coaching for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the candidates until it finishes. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.